What's your company?
Julie Did It Studios.
Julie Did It Studios. Okay. And we're back with our guest, Julie Ward from Julie Does It Studios.
Julie Did It
Julie
Studios.
Does it. Julie did it. I got the name right.
Secretly wish that you mess up the intro every time.
I know you do. And and more times
we prepare before.
More times out of not, I do. I give it to you. And welcome to another episode of the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John.
Hey, Squeaks.
Hey, still squeaking.
It's better though.
It is. It's getting better and better. And hopefully when we go to Colorado, I won't have a cough on the plane.
And now Jackson's sick.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't seem sick this morning.
He's congested.
Oh, well, he's always kind of congested in the morning.
I don't know. I think it's different. And I feel like I'm getting something too. So it's going to be good times.
Sharing is caring.
Which, I mean, I get sick every time I travel.
Yeah.
I just would prefer to just be sick on one way of the plane, not both. Because being congested on a plane, I don't know if you've ever done it, but it sucks. And sometimes it's incredibly painful. There was one time where I legit was like, I was asking the flight attendant, like, is there any tricks that I don't know or that I haven't tried yet? Because it was, my ears wouldn't pop and it hurt so bad. Like I didn't have any gum. I was trying like to drink, to swallow, to get them to pop. I was trying, moving my jaw. Oh my God, it was so painful.
Did you do the nose though?
I think so. I feel like I tried everything that I knew.
Right.
But tired AF.
I feel you.
And that's even with sleeping in. So, whew. Let's see. We don't have many updates because again, we're doing this kind of back to back since we're planning ahead for our upcoming vacay.
We would have just gotten back on Tuesday when this airs.
So what are you looking forward to in Colorado?
I'm looking forward to seeing.
Besides the obvious, but.
Well, what's the obvious? Because I might just state the obvious.
Go ahead.
I'm looking forward to seeing all of our friends out there that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Family, your dad. I would say your mom, but she comes down here fairly recently. I mean, I am looking forward to seeing her, but it's not like I haven't seen her in a long time. Not like your dad.
Yeah.
And your sister. And friends and spending the time out there. I hope it snows for one day.
Just one
day. Just so JR can see snow again.
And Jackson.
And Jackson won't remember though.
Still.
But just so
it'd be funny to see his reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And just so that they can experience snow. But again,
I want everyone
one day. Just one day of the trip. I don't need it the whole time.
I want everyone to see Jackson just because it progresses so quickly and I don't post a lot. Well, true.
JR has changed a whole lot since in a year that we've been.
I don't post a lot about them. Here and there I do, but not anymore. I'm not as active on social media with my personal stuff because I have to be so active with business that I'm just kind of like over it by then. But it'll be fun to see, them like with Jackson, like talking kind of and walking and just, being kind of grown in kid ways, definitely much huge difference from what the baby they saw last time.
He wasn't doing anything.
Right. He was a lump. Although I'm not looking forward to the plane.
Oh man. Neither am I.
He does not do well being held.
Right. So him also. I hope that JR's eye patch entertains him.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 hours is a long time. Even for us.
He's done a solid 4 hours. He can do 4 hours.
Who? JR?
JR. The problem is Jackson's going to want it. JR's not going to want to share.
And maybe we should get one. Like a toddler, baby one.
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it.
I'll look at it after this.
Because, it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be
rough.
Yeah. Hey, at least we get a solid row to ourselves.
It's going to be a very crowded row, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
but it's crowded with us and not with a stranger.
True. So, but the plane and just the airport. You got to.
I would say wish us luck, but we're already back.
Yeah, wish us whatever. But the airport is a lot of work with all the car seats and the luggage.
And I hope there's no. I hope fingers crossed, toes crossed, that there's no delays or cancellations or anything with that. with these.
Because with kids, it
crazy.
makes those delays even more rough.
Yeah.
And then where's nap time in all of this? I haven't even thought about that.
No, I don't even. I gotta look to see what time we leave.
Yeah, I know. Oh man. Well, at least we set someone up to watch the pig. I almost forgot about that. So we got that. And
I got an extra 2 days on vacation.
Yes. He had 2 days he had to use by the end of the year or get approved to carry over.
Roll over.
And he was going to do the end of the year, but there had already been a lot of people out. Right. So his boss, was like, oh, it's already out. And he was like, okay, well, what if I add 2 days to my vacation? He was like, sure. It's like, perfect. Great. Yeah. So it makes it so that you have vacation in Colorado, but then you come back and almost have like a little mini vacay at home.
Because I have 2 days off of work and then my regular 2 days, and then I go back to work.
Then you go back to work. Yeah.
So I get a vacation. How everyone wants a vacation from their vacation, I'm gonna have that.
Right.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully. Let's hope.
Right.
Because with flights, maybe those 2 days. Maybe
don't speak that into the universe.
I'm just saying. At least we have the cushion.
True.
To where that happens, it's just an inconvenience.
Okay. Yeah.
And we just call Angie. Say, hey, can you pick us up from the airport?
Right.
I thought you were leaving. Well,
we thought so too.
Yeah.
But
so now we're leaving tomorrow morning.
Yeah. And then I had a little realization yesterday. We had mentioned that JR has an appointment today. And I noticed that it's right. And I noticed that it said virtual. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. Because that's not what I wanted, especially with a 5-year-old.
Right.
And I'm not
Don't
crying.
cry.
My eyes are watering. My contact is all pissed off. Believe me, I tell you. And so I called them and I was like, oh, I saw it's virtual. And she's like, oh yeah, it's an intake appointment. And I'm like, They never mentioned anything about that before. I also filled out like literally a 10 to 15 minute like questionnaire, like about him, family history, all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, like I kind of thought I already did what would be considered an intake. And it
what
just
more information are you gonna want?
And it just kind of threw me off because it just means it's that much longer until you actually see someone. And then with our vacation immediately after.
And it's weird because this was a rescheduled appointment.
Yeah.
And the original one was with a therapist.
Yeah.
So it's like you reschedule us for an intake?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and even if we would have rescheduled because the person is only there on a certain day of the week, and if they're not there that day, then it's the next week anyway. And now we're into our vacation anyway. So who knows? It might have just been a combination of all of that, and where they just wanted to get something done rather than just say you have to wait 2 weeks, basically.
Gotta get that copay in.
Yeah, who knows? So yeah, and of course he has to be there. Right. So it's like I was hoping, okay, well if it's just intake, then we don't have to take him out of school, an hour or so early. But no, he has to be there for that too. So wish us luck with all these appointments and just trying to get some answers, tips and tricks and make us all happier in the end.
Well, I guess let's get our guest on the line.
Yeah.
Be right back.
BRB.
And we're back with our guest, Julie Ward from Julie Does It Studios.
Julie did it.
Julie does it. Julie did it.
It both works. Only one has the website, though.
Listen, I secretly wish that you mess up the intro every time.
I know you do. and more times
we prepare before.
More times out of not, I do. I give it to you, like today.
I love it, and it's probably because I'm sitting here like waiting.
I'm pins and needles. Do it.
Right?
Julie Did It Studios.
Yes. There we go. How are you doing?
Good. Trying to stay warm on this cold, snowy morning.
Oh, yeah. You said you woke up to 4 inches of snow?
Yeah. Well, for one, I woke up late because my dang phone decided to restart in the middle of the night.
Of course.
Then deactivated my alarm. So my 9-year-old comes in and she's like, Mom. I'm like, what? She's like, it's after 7:30. I'm like, oh shoot, it is. Open up the window. I'm like, oh crap, there's snow.
Right.
Well, we can blame it on the snow.
Right. Dang it.
Do you like the snow?
No, I hate it. I hate the snow. I like it up in the mountains. Yep. I like it on the grass. But
it's pretty. but
yeah, it is
everywhere
pretty.
else it's an inconvenience.
Yeah, it's a great photo prop, but it
Right.
is not to try to navigate through driving and stuff.
Agreed.
Plus, then you have to worry about snow boots, and my 9-year-old snow boots didn't fit, so we just tried another one, and they bothered.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't love when we were only out there for a year when after JR was born. We left when he was a year. But just getting him dressed in like weather appropriate, and then with a car seat still at that age, like you can't have their jacket on them in the car seat, because then that makes it like it's no longer safe. You have to like put the jacket on after the harness, like you have to put it on backwards or like lay it over them or whatever. It's a whole thing, like trying to get out of the house like with yourself, let alone when you have kids.
Right. And then if you don't plow the driveway, like last year, I was like, oh, I got this. I got like teetered over the snowbank at the end of the driveway, thinking, oh, I could just, gun it and just back up.
Yeah.
No. So then suddenly we had to get neighbors, and we're all trying
cars
in the middle of the street, the wrong direction, just teetering over this icy snowbank. And I'm like, oops. Like pouring hot water, trying to melt it down.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many stories, and I don't miss any of those escapades.
Shoveling,
and when the snowblower wouldn't work.
Oh man, I tried to go the cheap route and got like an old snowblower, so the cold wouldn't let it crank because it had to like get warmed up.
Which defeats the purpose,
right? Right, exactly.
So, but then we got the electric one. And then that one
was clutch.
That one was good, but it's still
with this. So I've lived here since 96, and we've been married for our 22 years. We just bought our first snowblower last season.
It's a game changer, isn't it?
What's funny is I never had one until him. So I mean, in my defense, I lived in a condo for 10 years, so I didn't really need any of that anyway. Right. But then we moved into our house, and we didn't buy it right away. I think it was like the second or third year that we were there.
So the second year I bought that cheap one.
And then the third year
that ended up not working. And then the third year we just said broke down.
We totally should have bought it way before, especially because we were on a corner lot too. So we not driveway, like this
double the sidewalk.
Yeah. And even worse, our long ass sidewalk led to the mailbox. So if
ours too. Maybe it was in your house.
Ours didn't. Our line was before. It led to it.
Well, it's still,
but ours was
that's
before.
What I mean. When we didn't do it, I felt like a jerk, because if anybody's walking to get their mail, like we could potentially, and also more likely that we would get reported, or like, city would be yelling at us or something. But so all of that contributes.
Had I known, because coming from Florida, corner lot means you have a bigger backyard.
Right.
You have more,
and we did.
Like we have more land, like property. So I was like, oh, when we were buying the house, I was like, oh, cool. And we're on the corner. So we don't have a neighbor on that side. We have a bigger backyard, this and that. And then winter came and it snowed and it plowed. And then you're like, oh, what about the side? I'm like, what do you mean about the side? It's like, oh, we have to do that. What? Why do we have to do that? Like, I was already against doing the sidewalk in front of my house. So I'm like, that's the city's responsibility.
No,
from there to there is the city.
Nope.
I can't do anything on the sidewalk without a permit. Therefore, you guys have to take care of that, not me.
No.
But then I have to do that whole side, and I'm like, man, this sucks.
Yeah. So
anyway,
enough about the snow talk. Hopefully, we don't have too much snow experiences next week when we go visit again.
No, like I was telling her, one day of snow. Take a picture.
Right.
That's it.
Make a snow angel, call it a day.
Right.
No, let JR make a snow angel.
Just make sure you get him like,
there won't be a family
like Ralphie in the Christmas Story, so he can't even put his arms down. Make sure he's nice and bundled.
Oh, he will be.
So how did you get into the laser world? How what was your gateway drug?
A Facebook ad.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like
so like rewind to January of 2020. Okay. So before before everything.
Just before.
Yeah, it's funny. The last week's episode was just like this too, where like
it's funny because that's like you think about that time,
yeah,
and you're like, man, we were so like naive. We took everything.
I know, like it should be the new BC, right? Before COVID,
the world was about
totally
to change.
BC.
The world as we knew it was about to change, and we had no idea.
Just 2 weeks.
I picture like Dan,
right? It's like, oh, it's in China. It's never gonna get here. We're healthy, and we don't.
Oh, yeah. So January 2020.
Okay, so I go to a baby shower, or I'm getting ready to go to a baby shower, and I was like, you know what? So I've always been a crafter. I've done vinyl. I do printables. So I've just dabbled. I've done all the things. We've thrown darts at the wall for starting different companies.
Same.
But there was nothing that
stuck.
Yeah, like back in the day when scrapbooking was really hot, we sold eyelets. So we, those like little yeah. And so we've tried so many things. And so fast forward to, I'm one of those people who I see it, I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. And so I wanted to make a baby name sign. And I was like, where are all these people getting these cute flowers and names all over?
That's what I thought I wanted to make when I bought my laser too. I was like, oh, I want to make these cute little baby signs.
Right. Well, and this was my thought. Okay. And I was just like, never even knew that people could own a laser cutter. Cause I'm like, like Hobby Lobby doesn't sell cursive names. So I'm like, how are these people cutting names? They certainly can't be cutting it in their garage or at their home. So whatever, I bought an outfit for the baby shower, called it a day.
Hey, right.
So then my husband, come February, when things are starting to kind of get a little sticky.
Right. There's like talk about it. Yeah.
Yes. He sees this ad on Facebook and he's just like, hey, there's this thing called Glowforge that I really want to get. And I'm like, what is it? He's like, it's a laser cutter and it engraves, like, hindsight. Yeah, not really. But it, and he's like, we could do all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no, not interested. And so then so fast forward and he keeps planting the little seeds and we get the stimulus check. He's like, can I just give this a try? Worst case scenario, we use the good old government stimulus money to pay for it. And so I'm like, that's fine. I want nothing to do with it.
So
mark my words.
What were his plans with it?
Yeah, what did he want to make?
He wanted to engrave cutting boards. He wanted so he bought some like slate
trays.
Engrave. He bought like silicone sleeves for mugs. He bought pocket knives, beard combs. Like he went just crazy on Etsy. Now in hindsight, you could go to like Crazy Laser Dad. You can go to yours.
There weren't a lot of blank suppliers then at the time.
It was all on Etsy.
Yeah, there was one particular blank seller who took advantage of that the market that wasn't quite there yet. As far as like she likes to block a lot of people, and I'm on that list. But anyway, just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, and so I
wonder how she's doing. Not really.
You should have her on.
No. Actually, I mean, that would be good content. It would be really good content for people. So maybe.
Yeah. I'll take the credit if you do have her.
Right.
Well, just a little shout out. So he tried that. And then, I don't know, curiosity gets the better of me. And I had made some vinyl and printable designs in the past that I was like, I wonder if I can convert this into a laser file.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. I thought that too.
I got it ready. And I was
designs.
Yeah, mine were printables that you could frame. And so it was like the USA with some florals with a shiplap backer and whatnot. So I got it all designed and I had my husband cut it. I'm like, I'm not touching that thing. I will catch our house on fire.
Right.
It's just no. And so for a while, then he would cut, I would design and he would cut. And like hindsight, I thought that everybody would just die over that US design. But now I'm so glad nobody did, because they would have like cursed me and shaken their fists at me, because there was like, I don't even know, 100 little pieces. It was a freaking puzzle.
Yeah.
And I think it took me 8 hours to paint and put
Oh
together.
my God.
And I was just like, oh man, I would have had so much hate mail if
right.
And so then just slowly I made designs. I made my niece a last name backer, for her thing with some florals. And then my mother-in-law saw it and she's like, can you make this shiplap cow? And she showed me on Pinterest, and it was a cow made out of a pallet with flowers and a bow. And she's like, but I want everything to be wood cut like Mackenzie's flowers.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. So I made it for her. I posted a picture on Facebook, and bam.
Yeah.
It took off. I had requests for chickens and pigs and goat and horse, and
right.
led to another. And it was August of 2020.
Yeah.
And so still at the time, Jason was cutting for me mostly. And then finally he had a conference call for work. And I was just like, yeah, I need you to teach me how to use this.
Right. Yeah. And so then where did Julie Did It Studios, like when did that come about through all of this? And like your subscription and selling your design?
Okay, so shortly after the cow, so that first weekend in August that I shared the cow, I think on a Thursday, and then it was like Small Business Saturday for the Facebook group. So I posted it, and that's when I kept getting emails or messages saying, hey, can you do adoption? Can you do a German Shepherd and all this? And of course I was like, yeah, I can do it all. I can do it all.
So did you go straight into selling files because you kind of had that background of like selling the printables and stuff? Like when you made the cow for your mom, did you immediately turn it into a file for sale?
No.
Okay.
No. So originally, like you, I was going to do finished product. And of course, like everybody else, I think I probably bought $500 worth of files between, let's see, June. No.
And how many of them did you actually use?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I probably spent a couple hours on each trying to get it laser ready.
Right.
Because I was just like, I'd cut it and the letters would snap. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to
right.
I could do better than this.
Switching, especially having some kind of experience with design,
right?
Lasers, helps a lot. But then you also run into like issues that are like laser project related that you don't even think about or that you don't even know exist until you go to make something. And you're like,
because when it's flat, you can stack, and it doesn't, it doesn't have to line up nicely. And oh shoot, like this doesn't.
One little things about like depending on the layer and how I'm doing it, like if the letter has an inside of it, if I'm doing a cutout of that where I'm cutting out the letters, I need it to be like stencil in a way, or now I have to put back in those little pieces inside the O or in the P or the R.
Dots of the eyes.
Yeah. And so like, so you, the dots of the eyes, if you make those too small, you're going to cut them and then they're going to disappear because they're going to go straight into the crumb tray and like figuring out, you got to make several of them and that kind of stuff. And so like, here's a little plug of my course, but that's what I try and help people. I try to eliminate some of that because you don't know what you don't know. And you don't know that like, I need to think about the thickness of my script fonts and even like the script fonts that typically get thinner on like, the down or the upstroke, and how a lot of script fonts are not good for laser unless you're engraving them and when you have the dots of the eyes, welding it to, the other part of the eye, or cutting out 4 of them and hoping that you come away with 1 of them. And, just little things like that you just don't realize until you go and do it and it fails. So I tried to share all of my failures to save them some time.
So that's Silhouette for Lasers.
SilhouetteForLasers.com if you're interested. So how did you then get into actually selling of the files?
Okay, so when I had the first couple requests for the cow, I was like, okay, I had purchased files, so I kind of knew the layout. And so I just kind of replicated, made sure all the lines were the same. Hindsight, oh my gosh, those leaves, which, I knew they were delicate.
Right.
I've since redone the file because I'm like, oh, those babies are going to snap on people.
Well, I actually want to go back to a lot of my early files and look at them again.
Yes.
And, like, double check, like, do I have too many nodes? Because I mean, even files 6 months ago, I had things that I wouldn't do now.
Right.
And I have files from 2 years ago up there. So I need to spend the time sometime next year and just like go through all of them.
That's my problem. There's not enough time.
I know. I have 200 files on my like, low for some people. So yeah, there's not enough time. So it's like, until then, I just wait until someone yells at me and then I'll fix it for you and then I'll upload it.
Yeah. No, it's so true because I because I'm not gonna I reuse a lot of my shapes. Why remake the same thing multiple times?
Well, I mean, that's a design hack. When you go to design something, a lot of times I use a piece or several pieces from other parts and either like shift it a little bit or just add something.
Yeah, or weld them together.
Yeah. Heather and I call it recycling. So we'll take something and like if it's a watch band design, I then need to take it and turn it into earrings, into an ornament, into a sign, because people can do that on their own. But technically, depending on their ability, and 2, I mean, my terms technically say to not do that. Right. I don't really care if they do, especially if they're not selling the file. But it's hard because a lot of people think, oh, I put all this work into this file, now I can sell it. And it's like, you put all this work into elements that were already, that were mine. But anyway, and a lot of people, because of their ability, don't know the best way to stretch it or make it bigger or the things that they have to take into account if they do make it bigger. But yeah, it's another way, like if you are a file seller, is to take one element but turn it into a million different things and reach a wider audience for your files.
Right. And so that's also what I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. But like I'll pull back elements from months ago and I'm like, ooh, this does not look good, Julie.
It happened to me yesterday and I was so mad because it's like, it's this tiny little detail that I swear like 99% of people would not notice, but I saw it. Yeah. So now I have to fix it.
Right.
And it's not an easy fix. And it's a tiny little like notch that I don't even know how it got there or why it's there. And
what is there?
I gotta fix it and I'm mad. I'm mad about it.
Yeah, but I'll open things up. I'm like, ooh, this needs a redo. But
so you where were we going with that? With the files?
Okay, so I quickly figured out how to make the file, put it on Etsy. Then I made like a shiplap deer with the same kind of feel with the leaves and whatnot. Somebody shrunk it and put it on a sled. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. I reached out and she's like, yeah, but it was really fragile. It's like, right, because it was like this big and you shrink it to this. And so I was like, if I rework it and then create my own sled, because I didn't want her to think I was, even though it was my deer, I felt like I was stealing her idea. And so I was like, if I, give it to you as an exchange, she's like, oh, for sure, it's yours. And so then I made my sled and the deer. And then suddenly it was like, can you do a snowman? Can you do this? And my husband's like, you need to do a subscription. I'm like, that's silly. Nobody wants to get laser design subscription. He's like, no, you really need to do. And really at the time there was 1, maybe 2 people doing it. And I was just like, no, I'm going to run out of ideas. No, it's like people are going to be like super like disappointed. I don't,
it would be anxiety. I would feel the pressure of like having to put something out, having to put something out quality, because a lot of times where I design something and I end up not tossing it, but not completing it because it doesn't come like it doesn't turn out the way I had it in my head, or I come across a hurdle that I didn't think of.
Right.
And so having the pressure of, having to create a design or several designs every single month because people are paying for it and waiting for me. I don't know that I'm not opposed to it, like somewhere down the line, but especially in this last year, everything that we have going on. I mean, I've recently done more designs, but it definitely wasn't like it was my first year. So
right. Wow.
Right. You've gone more your course way and your
and the podcast and things.
So feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You haven't subscribed already.
That subscription is free, but her paid subscription is pretty awesome. I've seen some really cute files.
Yeah, and so when I'm not gonna lie. So my husband just kept saying, we need to do it. We need to do it. I'm like, I don't think I can. I don't think I can. It was not until, I kid you not, the week before Christmas that I was like, okay, Jace, let's give it a try. And we launched it January 1st.
Oh my gosh.
And
just rip off that Band-Aid.
and so he's like, should we offer an annual and a monthly option? I'm like, no, I can't commit to an annual. I needed the safety net of saying, peace out.
Never mind. It didn't work out.
Yeah. And I think it's because, like I said, in the beginning, we just threw lots of darts and nothing stuck. So I didn't have much faith that this would be so different.
For sure.
It's like I have crafting ADHD where it's like, I'm bored with this, moving over here. And so it's like, I don't know if I can see this as a business long term.
We have elements, like previous elements from other designs and like squirrel moments. When I'll be creating a design and I'll go grab another file and grab elements from that file. And
I know where you're going.
I start messing with that file and doing like either fixing it or changing it or
you have a whole new idea.
Get a whole new idea of what I could do instead of what I'm actually working on. It's so bad. And then 2 hours later, I'll sit there and I'll be like, shit, I didn't even do what I sat down to do 2 hours.
For sure. No, I call those my rabbit holes and I go down them all the time. And what's worse, and I think this is probably typical with all creatives, I work best in the 11th hour. I could think about it for the entire month of December.
So annoying too, because I want to plan ahead. So in college, that would happen to me with papers. And shit, that reminds me of an article I have to write. So
speaking of homework,
crap. But
when's your article due?
It was due on the 30th.
Oh, okay. So you can't put it off. I'm like, you're good.
She did give me an extension though, so I still have time, but that time is running out. So with my papers, you knew about your paper several weeks to a month in advance, especially depending on, how large of a paper it was. Right. And so I would sit down and I'd attempt to write it early because I always hated the stress of doing it last minute.
Everything, note card.
Right. And so I'd sit there for 4 hours and I'd have a paragraph. And nothing would come to me. I'd struggle and I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, 2 days before it's due, I write 10 pages. Yeah. And that paragraph that I spent 4 hours on, I ended up tossing because it wasn't even good in the first place. And it's like, why do I even try to do this ahead of time? My brain does not function unless it's like, you have to do this now.
Yeah. Then it's like, props to you for doing it 2 days. I'd be up till 3 a.m.
Oh no. The 2 days is when it would kind of start.
Okay.
100% would be finished at 4 a.m. before the day.
So I was a graphic design major in college.
Yeah.
Way before. I used Photoshop 4.0, and that was like super high techy.
Right.
And same thing. For one, art is never done. Math, 2 + 2 is 4. Boom, moving on.
Right.
Art, it's like, ooh, and just add a little shading here, or
just stop.
Yeah, and so it's like it's so hard. But same with then. I was like, I would always wait till the very last minute to be like, okay, it's time. I got to call time. It's done. Hands up, paintbrush down, walk away.
Right. Yeah.
And that's this. I mean, I could tweak a design until I'm blue in the face.
Yep.
But it's like, okay, you gotta move on. And notoriously, like, what was it? So we release our design bundles on the 1st of the month, and on the 30th of the month, I reached out to Robin with Welcome Home Customs.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it bad that I think I might want to change one of my files? And she's like, no, you can't. No, you do what you have. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Voice of reason.
Yeah. And so what is your subscription offer? Like, what does it come with?
Okay, so my customers offer a lot of like DIY kits. We're like in the crafting. I mean, because you can have the high-end fancy working mobiles. No. I understand kerf. I'm not a fan of kerf.
Right.
I do my little teeny nod to slots.
Yep.
And so we do a lot of like signs and shelf sitters and more crafty things.
Okay.
And so my people love DIY kits. And so in the subscription, each month you get one DIY kit. And really, you can turn any of them into DIY.
Right.
This comes with printable box covers, thank you cards, printable instructions, a boatload of marketing photos and clips for them to use in selling it. It always fits on one sheet of 12 by 20 wood.
Nice.
It always will fit in a 12 by 12 box. So that way they don't have to have a bunch of different sizes.
Yeah, right.
And then they get 3 to 4 additional files that range from door hangers, like this one. This was from September. All of our files are designed so you can cut them on a Glowforge and piece them together. Or if you have a large laser, then you don't have to do the piecing together. So there's two versions of each of our larger files. But so like I have them here because I did the live yesterday. But like this is our DIY kit for December.
I love that.
The box covers, everything. We did half winter, half Valentine's Day. Look at this. We get a raggy heart and my spindle.
Nice. So they get the heart one, is that like a pattern that's engraved or?
Oh, this is scrapbook paper. This is embossed scrapbook paper that I just Mod Podged.
Smart.
And so, and so they get a variety. In the past, I didn't really do themes, which is not good for a creative because, you know, so now I'm like, so okay, I at least need to like
hone it in.
Together. Yeah.
So what were you doing? Did you have like a day job before this? Were you staying at home or? I
didn't work from home. I mean, sorry. I didn't work out. Like I didn't work besides doing little artsy fartsy things
here and there. Yeah.
So I didn't work from when my oldest was 18 months old.
Okay.
Until my youngest went to kindergarten.
Okay.
So I don't say just. I was a stay-at-home mom. I planned the birthday parties that were themed.
Yeah.
And you know,
did all the
Halloween parties with like the bone-shaped bread sticks and the marinade, the blood dipping side, you know.
Yeah.
And so I did that. So then when my youngest went to kindergarten, she went to full-day kindergarten. I was like, "Woo, I'm gonna have all this time." Well, it was a kind of a scary kindergarten class. So I ended up being a full-time teacher aide. And I say that kindergarten class was straight out of Compton. It was bad.
We
had mother effer being said I mean, it was bad.
I mean, unfortunately, we have that right now kind of with JR. I mean, we don't live in the best neighborhood and we do. And
it was a charter school. It was a STEM charter school.
Yeah,
this is a STEM.
Magnet school.
Yeah, it's a magnet.
It's a STEM magnet school. So we had high hopes, thinking like, okay, it's okay that. Is that rain?
Oh no, they're here to cut. They're cutting the grass.
Oh my god! I was like, what is that noise?
Me too. With our luck in this house, I was like, great. What now?
Pure panic.
I was like,
the
what?
roof just falls in on you.
Okay,
it's the weed eater on that door.
We're good. the weed whacker on our metal storm door. Yeah. Okay, all right. Oh
right. Man.
Oh, maybe we were sending the snow your way.
Is at the roof.
Who knows?
What's going on? I had to take my earplugs out. I was like, wait, what's going on? Okay.
There's one of our teasers for the
100%. The shock on our face.
I know. All of a sudden it went like dead silent.
It's like the worry of how much is this going to cost us now?
So anyway, the not as. See, it got me again because he's over here.
Well, he's
I know, but it's the weirdest sounds. It doesn't sound like.
So right here is our what is that? Not like the
entryway.
Outside the foyer.
Yeah.
The outside foyer.
Yeah.
And there's a little patch of like weeds or stuff that grows where the rocks were. And so they trim that, and we hear it right here. But it sounds weird.
It sounds like they're inside here, but it doesn't sound like a weed whacker. Okay.
Sounds like rats.
Anyway, he does sound like rats. Yeah, really large ones.
Yeah.
Rodents of unusual sizes, right? I don't know if you're a.
So, the neighborhood, not the greatest neighborhood, especially like right behind us. And that's right where the school is. And like, I had high hopes that it's a STEM magnet school that they would have, I don't know, more resources or I don't know what, but then now it's like, there's kids in his class who are screaming, "I hate you." Yeah. And he flipped me off like 2 weeks into kindergarten. He didn't know what he was doing, but he did it. Excuse me. And again, he had learned that from school, doing the gun motion, like with his hand. And he has Nerf guns and that kind of stuff, but it was different when he was doing it like with his hand and I don't know. There's been a lot of things that it was like, okay.
We teach gun safety now. Holster it.
Right. We tell him, put it away.
No guns at the dinner table.
No, put that away. And even though it's fake, we have to tell him, don't point that at people, because he would jokingly do it to his brother, and that was I'm like, don't. That's weird.
Yeah, don't get comfortable doing
that.
Yeah. Yeah, or come up with a Nerf gun trying to shoot you.
Right. Yeah. So just I get it. I get it. Yeah. Is where I'm going with all
I actually pulled her out of the school and put her
are gonna do the same thing.
School, but then my conscience wouldn't let me just leave the teacher in that situation.
Right.
So even though she wasn't even going to school. What was that?
Did you pull her out, but you stayed?
Yeah. Because I'm just like, it was so bad.
Well, thankfully, I will say that he has a new teacher and she's amazing. And she was only there. We saw her on the second day. And on the second day, she was already like, I'm going to go talk to the principal about a couple of these students because unfortunately, a couple of the bad students were distracting, the rest of the class and hindering quality learning experiences and stuff like that. So, and she does have an aide as well. Right. So thankfully.
Well, it was her second day as the teacher, but she told us that she sat in the class for a week 10 days before that to kind of get the kids accustomed to her.
Right.
With, still with their regular teacher. That way the transition was easier.
Yeah.
So that was really since my oldest was 8 and he's 20 now. So for 18 years, I didn't work.
Yeah. And so how long did you do the teacher's aide thing?
The whole school year. Well, COVID hit and school was done. So then I moved into the kitchen and we provided free lunches. I don't know if Florida did that.
Yeah, they did a lot of that where even if
you just drove by and you grabbed.
They could drive by.
Because a lot of times that's the only meal that the kids had.
I know. That just gave me chills. Like when I heard that statistic, you just didn't even think about that because you're not in that position.
Right.
And when they said that we're still delivering food because some kids, that's the only meal they get for the day. And I'm like, oh my God, it just.
Yeah. And so then I moved into the kitchen and worked until school was done.
Yeah.
So I just worked that entire school year as kindergarten aide / kitchen COVID staff.
And so then when you were done with that year, did you just lean into the laser stuff?
Yeah, because it was that summer in August that it just really
blew up.
And I was like, and so then they asked, "Are you going to come back?" And I'm like, "Nah, I think I'm good." I think I got something going here.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are your, like, do you have any goals? Like, what are the things that you're focusing on, maybe for next year, or, because you have the subscription, do you just like focusing on keeping the subscription going, or is anything like new and exciting?
So we have obviously our design subscription, which is all laser ready files. My husband wants to get into the cutting of the blanks. We have a Thunder now. And so yeah, and so we have a Create It with Julie box kit that I launched. And of course, because all of my followers are laser cutters, they're just like, how can we get the file?
Right.
So even though it's our box kit that we intend to mail out, which we do, we also have a digital pass for those people who have a laser cutter. I mean, because if you have a laser cutter, you don't want to be buying my cutouts.
Pre-made, right?
And so we do offer a digital pass for laser owners to join in the fun.
Nice.
So we currently have 2 subscriptions. One is more geared towards our kits. And then the other is for our design. And then I've had so many requests, and this is just on the back burner, of doing a painting course, not a membership.
Yeah.
Just like cataloging. So that way, if you want to know a specific.
Totally. Where you could like, because I mean, you give all of that, especially for like your subscribers and stuff, and you've even done it like free and some
I do tutorials,
stuff, which definitely we should collab on that. I would love for you to do something like that in my the free Silhouette for Lasers group. But the thing that I love, comparing like free content or subscription content to the courses is that it would be an amazing way, especially for painting and teaching technique, just putting it in just like such a pretty little package that kind of like, progressively like the skill and that kind of stuff, amps up, and it's easy for them to like, oh, okay, if I want to learn this specific technique, I don't have to go search your YouTube or the Facebook group and try and find, when did she have that tutorial? Is this the right one? That kind of stuff.
And the tutorials end up being an hour and a half long. And if you want to learn this certain part, then you have to fast forward to find.
Hope you don't miss it.
Yeah. And so when I taught at the Sacramento Laser Conference, everybody's just like, I didn't think I could paint, but and so I was like, oh,
that's awesome.
It's so nice to hear that in real life. And they're like, you should teach painting. It's like, well, I kind of do.
Well, that's why I'm here.
And so this way, it's just kind of broken up into segments. So if you want to learn my galvanized painting technique, then you just watch that module. If you want to learn the, faux staining with acrylic paint and diaper wipes, you watch that module. You don't have to try to find the project and decipher
which one is this one.
So that's on the back burner back over here when I have free time.
Don't put it too far back, because let me tell you, like, it's a lot of work up front, but once you do it, the passive income, and not just the passive income, but the feedback from people who take it, it's so worth it. Like I had the Black Friday sale, so I had an influx of new students, and I had one the other day who and I have major imposter syndrome. So like if I could, I'd redo my whole course, because I just like my files, I learned a lot as I went, and some of my early modules, I would be like, oh, I would have done that, differently or so much better or whatever. But anyway, someone who just recently signed up for the course said, they learned so much just in like the first lesson. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like hearing that feedback really calms down the imposter syndrome in me. But just it's so awesome when you're able to give somebody that light bulb moment that like it makes it so worth it. So don't put it too far. Now that I know you want to do it, I'm gonna bug you.
My problem is I'm addicted to creating designs. And so like I probably put in, and I don't think people believe this, but I work 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week easily.
Yeah.
And so it's like I think that people think that I, tinker around and then I go
You
watch.
submit it once a month and you're done. And
Yeah, but it's just like, oh my gosh, if you saw how many designs I have started and not finished because I rabbit holed, it's crazy. And so my thought is, oh, but when will I design if I make this course?
Well, so what I'm working on is you kind of have to segment your day. Maybe you do like the first hour or two on course stuff, because again, it's probably not going to be, it's the more tedious stuff that you got to do. It's not going to be as fun. So you start your day that way, and then you get to end your day tweaking, playing with designs, creating designs and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you just like, you have to kind of like, you have to force it in there, because otherwise you'll put it off. I mean, hell, speaking of courses that I'm putting off, I was at the conference in August, and I had every intention to immediately come home and make that LED course.
Right. Yeah.
And life just was flipped upside down literally the second I got home. With me being sick, the kids being sick, and us going back and forth with that, and then now dealing with JR stuff. And, I honestly wasn't in the creative space to do it and to give it really the attention I wanted to give it. But that's something that I have to, like, I need to force myself to do. Because one, I promised it to those conference people, and two, because I know that there's a lot of people who could benefit from it. And so but it's hard, because I know it's almost like I'm putting it off more because I know how much work goes into it, and I'm not looking forward to like the recording. It is not the hard part. It's the editing and making the site look pretty and promoting it and all of that stuff that goes into it. But it would be helpful for people. So I need to try and get it together, squeeze it in there.
I know. See, and I think we're so similar, because I also talk myself out of it. Like, nobody's going to want this if they can just watch your videos, or you're not as good as the other person, or, there's already paint memberships out there. Why would they want yours?
Well, and I'm self-taught in silhouette. So there's a lot of things I don't know because I've never needed it or came across it or been taught it.
And so you taught yourself the wrong way, and somebody's going to come in and be like, did you know?
So at the conference specifically, I had one class where I made a rounded rectangle or rounded shape, right? Well, I didn't know there's these two little red dots that you on the shape that you can adjust the curvature of that shape, right? Well, I didn't know that they could move together. I just always moved them separately. And you hold down shift, and then now they adjust in both directions, symmetrically. Well, someone taught me that in class, because I realized if you move it one way, that means that if I move it too far to the right, say, okay, well, now when I go to flip that, it's not
going to be mirrored.
It's not going to line up. It's not going to mirror on all corners. And so I was warning them about that, because it happened to me, because I went to go put together the practice sign and notice, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a little bit off. And I'm like, oh, I need to make sure to move those together. Overlap them and make sure that they're mirrored and the same. And one of the students, she ended up actually being one of my students. She signed up after the conference, but she was like, what if you hold shift and move it, whatever, and then move it. And it was oh, and it literally happened in me teaching the class. And it's in one sense, it was a little bit embarrassing.
Right.
Something from, someone who's there to learn something from me. But I'm very transparent in that, I do know a lot about silhouette, but there's a lot I don't know or haven't come across, and that I continue to learn every day. They add new stuff all the time.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, maybe that's brought over from a different program, that they're I wonder if it'll work for here. And while you're there, oh, what if you hold shift?
Right.
Because it worked in whatever other program.
Right. And I think that was why she mentioned that. And thankfully people understand that again, I'm not claiming to be an expert.
Right.
I've not been
You're not.
Everything I know is because I fumbled around and played with it, or I watched a million different YouTube tutorials. I fucked around and found it out. Yes, exactly.
And people laugh because I use Inkscape, because
you do laugh when you say Inkscape.
I know. Because back in the day when I had
I'm more impressed than like laughing at you, because I've just heard nightmares about how hard Inkscape is to work in, and I'm just impressed that you make it work. Yeah.
Well, because A, I'm stubborn, and B, so back in the day when I had a Cricut, when you had to use those cartridges, there was this company that like hacked the system called Sure Cuts a Lot. And with that one, you could use Inkscape to create the cut files. And so I had some previous experience with Inkscape. So fast forward to Jason getting the Glowforge and me wanting to design. I'm like, I am not paying for a photo, Illustrator. I am not paying because I don't even know if I like this. So I'm going to use this free program.
Totally. Yeah.
And then
the reason I bought the laser was because I could use Silhouette, and I already knew Silhouette. If I couldn't have used Silhouette and transferred my designs over, I wouldn't have bought the laser, because I
knew Silhouette too, because I had a Cameo. But it was like the business edition was like $100. I'm like, I'm not paying $100.
It's still $100. Well, although sometimes it's 50% off from Swing Design. So always check Swing Design first.
The funny thing is, now, like my sister wanted me to create something for her on vinyl. It was like Latin. It was, I went into the Silhouette design, the little cutting mat, and I was like, I don't remember any of this. Like,
well,
my Inkscape has completely overwritten anything.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you lean into what you know. So it being, again, your stubbornness probably helped you with the patience to learn Inkscape, but
right. And now it's like, I mean, because there's so many ratio aspects where people are like, oh, I opened my file and it's like this big or this big. And so I'm worried using a new software that then if broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. And I don't know if like transferring over like files created somewhere else would potentially create that, but I've never had a ratio, knock on wood, a ratio issue with Silhouette files, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did just have a recent update like issue though. The recent update, like major lines disappear. You would create something and then you'd save it and you'd reopen it, and it wasn't there, but it was just because there was no color on your single line. And so there's like some little box that you have to click at the bottom of the line style panel. But a lot of people were freaking out because it caused some issues there. But
and it was funny because Robin Marsh posted like, oh, don't update to the Illustrator 2023, and I'm like, this is why I don't use Illustrator. I don't have these problems with Inkscape.
Keep telling yourself that.
I know. And then I did a video GIF with the
right.
Yep. I got other problems with Inkscape, but that's not one of them.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I like with Heather, I mean, she's my bestie and she's in AI, and like I want to learn it because there's things that like are limitations in Silhouette, but I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I don't want to learn something else. And then my brain, if I'm not using it regularly, I will potentially lose the ability to support my students, because
you totally will. Because like I said, I mean, for probably 5 or 6 years, also what I used was Silhouette. That's what I did all my design in for my
right.
Granted, I didn't always have a Cameo, whatever they were before that.
Right.
And now it's like I get in there, I'm like, but never mind.
Yeah.
So you will totally lose it.
Yeah.
Don't use it.
Good. Thank you for that validation.
Well, yeah, I do have people asking, can you design courses in Inkscape? It's like, oh, you don't want to know how I do stuff. I do stuff so backwards.
Yep.
It's like the shortest point from A to B, A to C,
and
mine is like and I would probably have people, did you know? And I'm like, oh no, I didn't know that. So
yeah, no, one of my favorite did you knows was I was showing people how to crop a pattern where they wanted the pattern in like a certain shape. So I think the example was someone wanted a cheetah pattern in the in her watch band shape.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was showing her how to do that, and I did like a really quick like 2-minute tutorial, like filmed terribly on my phone just so I could like show her how. And someone they messaged me and they're like, oh, because I was doing Control C, Control V for the watch band shape. And then I was having to like line it up again after like you used it to subtract the extra of the pattern. And she was like, you can do paste in front, and it would paste it right on top. And I was like, oh my God. It was like, you know, it was saved me so much time. And now I literally use that almost every day. So I always welcome those people, you know, like telling me that, because then I turned around and I did another video, gave her credit, you know, because she had just messaged me in private, gave her credit and was like, you know, so-and-so showed me this amazing tool,
Game
you know,
changer.
you can paste in front. And the funny thing is, like, when I right click, paste in front is something I look at. I pass by every time on all the right click options, but I never noticed it. I never saw it, never thought about it. But yeah, it's that way, especially when you're doing the subtract or crop feature, it's super helpful because when you do that feature, you lose the shape that you're using to subtract or crop.
Yeah.
So you need a copy of it, you know, right there. And I was having to line it up after the fact. And yeah, thankfully.
Can you not just duplicate your shape?
Well, I can duplicate it, but it always duplicated it off a little bit to the right.
Oh, okay. See, on
you know,
it duplicates it right on top of it.
Yeah, and it can, but you have to use
plug for
in front.
shape.
No. You just do Control F. It's okay. I'm just kidding. Like whatever works for, like, you know, you choose what works for you.
No, I know. I'm just totally kidding. I love to razz people about the amazingness of this.
Start like rile them up a little bit. Like I can do that too.
Control D.
Exactly. So what advice would you have for a new or struggling laser owner?
Okay, and this is still relevant to me as well, because it's something and you mentioned it too, the imposter syndrome. Comparison is the thief
of joy.
And also your progression.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes I'll be like, oh, so their design is so much more elaborate and beautiful. I wish I could design that style. Or, oh my gosh, this person is pumping out files 5 a day. I wish I could. And suddenly I'm wishing the talents of 5 different people.
Like not, you know, no fault of his own, but Mark is so like, he does like the photos he does and how many files he does every single week. It's like new file Friday, and I'm like, every Friday. And
well, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he does have employees that help.
No, for sure, but like you forget that when you see everything he posts and like the pictures and the videos and like
and all of his motivation Mondays.
Yes, everything he does.
And Wednesdays. It's like, how do you got time to post on Facebook? Answering every flipping question.
Yes,
he's seconds after it's
comments helping. Yeah, so like Mark unintentionally does that to me just because I'm like, you know, he's doing it very well. Right. And so it's like, oh, you know, I wish I could do that. But then I also, again, have 0 employees and it's just me and 2 small kids. But yeah, it's you have to check those thoughts when they happen and remember, like, you know,
we're one person and we need to compare ourselves to where we came from.
Yep.
Like my files
where
today.
We're at right now.
Like, what?
Or where we're at right now. Like I told John, I'm like, just with everything going on, like I haven't really been in like the best headspace to be able to do that kind of stuff. And so like I have a lot of pressure on myself to like, I need to do this. And it's like a lot of days I don't have that in me. And so I need to choose the win of like, today I did this, today I accomplished this, today, you know, like I need to not focus on everything I'm not doing and focus on what I did do and what I did do well that day instead of looking at the other part of it.
Yeah, no, it's super true. But also, like we were talking about, our files from 2 years ago, as long as they're so much better now, then you're progressing, obviously.
Exactly.
And same with like my painting. I look at my painting style back when I first started, because I don't fancy myself a painter. Like my grandma was a painter, but it's like, to me, it's like, it can be learned. And I think people like to, like say, oh, I'm not a painter. It's like, that's okay. Neither was I, it takes practice.
Yep.
And so I think practice.
When you got to this point by painting all the time and finding things that worked and worked better and perfecting your technique, like, sure, maybe, we all as creatives have like some like general like skill or talent or desire to do it. But as far as getting to the point that we are, for all of us, it took practice to get to that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to try new things.
Right.
Because I had this.
And expecting that you're going to suck the first time.
Right. You can't always #nail it on your first time. I mean, I do, but no, just kidding. Just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
I throw stuff away too. Don't don't get me wrong. I go, oops, a lot.
Yeah.
But just trying new things, expanding. You and Heather talked about it on Will's thing, investing in yourself.
Yep.
Whether it's, a paint course by an amazing painter, or a laser, it's part of the business. And if you want to get better, you need to learn and be open to learning.
Yep. I agree.
Like new software.
No.
Yeah. No.
Unless it's Silhouette and you want to learn. If you want to learn Silhouette.
You want to learn AI.
I do, but I don't.
No. So we can talk ourselves into a corner.
Same.
What I will say is that I do want to learn certain things in AI, the things that I don't like doing in Silhouette. I want to learn those and get better. Like, so, and I say this in my course. I say this in my course. I don't love curved text. The curved text feature. It kind of sucks in my eyes. And so I'd love to be able to do, like, if I need to curve text, to do that in AI and then kind of like bring it over. But so that's kind of what I want to learn AI for, is for the things that I don't love the functionality of in Silhouette. But what?
Oh, I was going to say, so it's like a chef and a sous chef. You want it to be your software and your sous software.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. But
those are patented, in case Will's watching. I've already trademarked those terms, Will.
Don't steal them. But like the problem with AI is, like, I don't exactly want to pay $30 to use curved text every once in a while. So that is my hesitation in using it for that reason. Because again, I know I need to be working in Silhouette on a daily basis so that I do not lose that functionality and that stuff for my students and stuff. But yeah, I don't want to pay $30 a month just to. Well,
I will say, in someone who just changed softwares.
Yes.
Not necessarily for designing, but I changed editing softwares. Sometimes I feel like you got to give it a chance, because you might end up liking it better.
Which would be dangerous, because I need to keep my course.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, though, you just take a look at it and and play with it.
Yeah.
Because you might find yourself like, oh, these have better tools for what I need. So not necessarily like across the board, it might be the best software for creating or whatever, but for how you work and your workflow, it might suit you better.
And I do like how there's a feature that Victor uses all the time for his instruction, like PDFs. You can make like kind of like 3D models. You can show what it looks like digitally, but in a 3D, like 2D version. Yeah. And I would love to be able to do that, especially if it's like something that maybe I'm just doing a mock-up, but I can show what it looks like, digitally better than just the flat version of my mock-up, because maybe I haven't made it yet or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of features in AI that I would love to use it for. I really just need to look into the pricing, because if it's something like $20 a month, I spend $20 a month on stupider things every month. Then to have that program to be able to use when and if I need to, if it's something that isn't working so well in Silhouette, because I do kind of make some more complicated designs sometimes that I do feel would work better in a more, I guess, robust software, because Silhouette really was truly created just for vinyl designs.
Right.
So it has some limitations in that. And one of the huge limitations, not for me because I don't personally do a lot of photo engraving, but you can't crop a photo and then rasterize it. So if you crop a photo, say you, one thing I did was crop a photo into the shape of a heart.
Mm-hmm.
You'll bring that into Glowforge. It'll look great in Silhouette. You bring it into Glowforge and it's still square because it can't. What you need to do after that step is rasterize it. And that's not something I'm aware that Silhouette can do, and you can do in AI because it's actually a design software and vector software. Right. So there are some limitations of, Silhouette where, like, if I did, fancy wanting to do I think it's called a clipping mask.
That's what I mean. Like different, every software has different things, and some are more user friendly than others. Like the software I just picked up that I used to edit the podcast for the creative side of it. Yeah. It's great. But for what I do for work, and we just switched over to that one.
It's kind of like using AI.
Too much. Yeah. It's like, yeah, sure, I can do it. But it's almost like
you don't need all that.
Right. It's like, I don't need all that for what I do with work. Right. I mean, there are projects that you want to get a little fancier. Once in a while, yeah. But on a day-to-day, it's like you kill a mosquito. Right. And it's like
fun though.
Huh? No, it is fun. Especially, yeah. We're talking about bazookas, but it'll blow shit up. But still, like, so I would definitely say explore other softwares just to make sure that
you especially if you haven't found one that you're choosing, look into free trials or see if there's a friend near you that might have one so that you can try it, because you may find one that works better for you and your brain than something else, because there's people who go into Silhouette and they struggle with it and it just doesn't work with how they function, or it's not intuitive to them where it might be to me for whatever reason.
So just give it a thought.
So I think this is a good time to give them a discount.
Oh, we like discounts, especially if you were at the laser conference. We were throwing discounts out like we were Oprah.
We were one-upping each other and trying to get more and more and more. So like, we're going to
you get one and you get one.
Yep, and you get a discount and you get a freebie. So what is the discount that's for everybody?
The general public.
For everybody, they can save 25% off their first month of our membership.
Nice.
With code Julie Did It 25.
Nice. And then
we does it. It's Julie Did It.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Julie does it. Julie did it.
Did it.
25. Did it. 25. Yes.
And then we will just obviously throw out that teaser that there's a bigger and better discount for our paid members.
This one was 25. I know, can only imagine what.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
Right? Yep.
Go ahead, sign up for that Patreon and get whatever that is.
It's as low as $4 a month, and you get discounts from every single guest who offers them. Anyone who
automatically
entered into a giveaway. I need to do that giveaway, by the way.
Yeah, we didn't.
It finally ended, but now I have like 100 and something comments that I have to
go through.
Yeah, that I have to go through and enter everybody in. So I'm gonna try and find time to do that today, if not this weekend. Because we have someone who will win the, I think, 5 or 6 sheets of acrylic from Houston Acrylic. So
yeah.
And then where can people find you?
So we have my business Facebook page is Julie Did It Studios. Okay. We also have a free group, so not our membership group. So we have a page and 2 groups, actually 3 with our Create It, whatever. Too much information.
Right.
And so our free community page, our group is Julie Did It Studios, a laser maker community.
Cool.
And then our website is juliediditstudios.com.
Nice. And you're on Instagram too, though, right?
Kind of. Kind of. Okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I get a whole bunch. Like the only people following me are like creepy old men.
Maybe listen, Instagram is its own beast that it's hard to get quality followers and
and
the right
so I post occasionally, not as frequent as I need to.
The name is Julie Did It, so let me see that. I'm gonna go ahead and follow.
Oh shoot! Right?
What is Julie doing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Can I tell you a super funny story? When we first started our subscription, like we had I think it was 3 ladies reached out. They posted in our group, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, my boyfriend got a hold of my statement, and the bill came through as Julie Did It stud." And like somebody else was like, mine too. My husband was like, what's this?
Oh my God, how funny.
So we changed how.
Yeah, because you can control that. Like I didn't realize that when I made my course. You kind of
we're a stud finding service. No.
That's funny. Stud. Or she did the studs. Julie Did It studs. That's funny.
So yeah, I don't remember I think he changed it to JDI Studios, or I can't remember what he changed it to.
Well, it's hard because you only get so many characters and you need it to make sense. And you I don't want them, because with my course, it's Silhouette for Lasers, but it's from Riley Black. And so I had to I don't even know what I ended up going with. Honestly, I got to look, but I struggled with what would fit, for the allowed. Yeah. And I'm like, are they going to understand that SFL means Silhouette for Lasers? You look at it a lot of times a month later and you're like, what the hell was that? And it's a big expense. And you're like, what did I spend all this money on? And I'm like, I don't want to charge back just because someone doesn't understand, the acronym.
They don't recognize it. Right.
Right. Well, I think that's all of our stuff, right?
Yeah, thank you for
it was fun, Julie.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I can't wait to get together in the spring.
I know, right?
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Whenever that is.
Hopefully I can make it.
I know. Fingers
crossed I can make
toes.
it. Yeah, right. Well, and as always, thank you guys for watching or listening. Hopefully you're watching as well on YouTube. And that's been another great episode of the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John.
Bye.
Bye.
Just kidding. Not over yet. We forgot
some details.
We forgot some details on the discount code.
Yeah, yes. So she mentioned that the enrollment is actually currently closed for the general public for her subscription service.
But there's a backdoor entrance.
There is. So
you have to knock 3 times. And the code word is pineapples.
So if enrollment currently isn't open, then they're gonna do what?
If it's not open, they're gonna click the link in We're
gonna put it in the show notes
in the show notes, and that'll take them through the back door. It's the backstage pass.
Yes.
So they can get into the membership without having to wait for us to reopen in January.
So you get into the VIP line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If enrollment is open, then they can just use the code as normal.
Yep. Just use the code Julie Did It 25 to save 25 off your first month.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
And if they're at capacity, you just sneak in the back.
You just sneak on the side. You slip the bouncer 20, and he'll let you ride it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the expiration date. So the expiration date is
what you say
a month after this airs.
January 15th,
mid-January.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is going to air on the 19th.
Yeah.
That Monday's the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
Thanks again.
Well, this time it's
for
really.
We're done now.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
But wait. No, just kidding.
Maybe we're all done.